Good evening, afternoon, good morning, and good day, wherever you may be in the world. But I think we're mostly dealing with evening. So, hello, Athearn train people. Hello, Janek.
Howdy. It's Friday.
It is Friday. It's a new day. Different day.
Yeah, it feels kind of weird to be doing it on a Friday.
Yeah, well, the new announcement is today. So let's talk about the new announcement today.
Oh, yeah, something about some new Genesis 2.0 locomotive. I've been hearing a couple things on Facebook, I think.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of posts. I mean, for some reason, my phone has not stopped all day, and I couldn't imagine why. So, yeah, isn't that what that is on the screen there? That's a big GE locomotive.
Yeah, looks like a C&W version to me.
You know, that's a good, astute. Oh, geez, words escape me. It's 5:30 on a Friday. I'm done. Astute observation. There we go. That's the word. So yes, everyone. Today is our new monthly packet number 1, but today is also a brand new locomotive announcement day. Yay!
Hey.
And a lot of people have seen already, because it hasn't been hidden since midnight, that the new locomotive is an Athearn Genesis 2.0-9 series General Electric diesel locomotive.
Yeah, and I think the important thing is that it's a -9 series.
Correct.
It's not just a -9 C44. You know, it's got the standard cab version as well as the Canadian CWL versions in this announcement as well.
Right. So this is exactly that. This is the whole family of -9 locomotives. Of course, that's not what's on the screen. We only have the Northwestern shown up here on the screen. But we have done just about every version that you could think of. So here is the BC Rail -944 CWL. And then here is the Norfolk Southern -940C, commonly referred to as the top hat due to the air conditioner on top of the roof. It makes it look like it's fancy with a top hat.
And it's dressed up in black and white, so yeah, looking fancy.
Ooh, fancy. I guess they run these with their pinky extended.
Yeah.
So I am going to address something up front, because we have obviously been monitoring comments and posts throughout various Facebook groups and forums and such today. Why the -9, especially whenever there is another high quality manufacturer with a -9 on the market? And the reason is this. I have mentioned in previous past, it is 5:30 on a Friday. I've mentioned in previous Train Tuesdays that this has been a project in the works for 3 years now. I was given the official go-ahead by my manager at the time in July of 2017 while we were down in Orlando to start working on these. And so research began, various R&D trips to go measure actual prototype locomotives, Southern California. Where did I get the other? Oh, up Chicago. Mm-hmm. Just various places around the U.S. And I had gotten access to these things and have measured them. So there's trip investments, there's research and time investment, there's engineering investment, and we were well into the development of this project. Fast forward to January 2019. And of course, we were not the first to announce this project. So we took a step back and, quite frankly, reevaluated to figure out where we are and if it was, I don't want to say worth continuing, but we took a step back see where we're at with the project in relation to competitive offerings. After we analyzed where we were, what other market offerings were, the decision to move forward was made. And so here we are today. Again,
3 years. That's so you're telling me if I go on and post a Facebook comment asking you for XYZ locomotive, that it could be up to 3 years until we actually announce it?
yes. And I say 3 years for this one because, yeah, a lot of people will think that, oh, it's just a cookie cutter locomotive. All of them are the same. Well, I'm here to tell you that they're not. And why this project took 3 years, because they are not all the same. The Santa Fe units are different from the Bnsf 700 War Bonnet series units, which are different from any Bnsf Heritage 1 unit from Bnsf Heritage 2 unit. And you've got early delivery, you got late delivery, you've got SP and UP and CNNW, which were the first of the first, and those 3 roads are all different. So getting all of these variations researched, getting all of the build dates and order numbers researched to find out what all these variations are takes time. And then, like I had mentioned, we already had travel time involved in this. And we had engineering time involved in this. And at one time, I had 2 engineers working on this project because it is so extensive. So that's a lot of salary, that's a lot of time, that's a lot of travel investment. And it, quite frankly, was not worth killing, or not worth changing gears, rather. I wouldn't say we would have killed it. It was not worth changing gears in January of 2019 to, say, the AC 4400, because, you know, it took 3 years for this. I can easily imagine it would probably take close to 3 years for the AC 4400s.
Right, because you can start from scratch.
Is essentially, yes. Now, some of those measuring trips would not have gone in vain, because AC 4400s and -9 44CWs share the same chassis. I will grant it that. However, the research and time was already spent on the -9. The -9 is what we have. Now, I led up to AC 4400s. Yes, AC 4400s are planned. There is no set date yet. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to beat around the bush. AC 4400s are planned.
Yeah, and I know you and I agonized about it for a long time, and we said, yeah, AC 4400s, that's a model that's needed in the market. There's no high quality version of it right now, and it's really high on our list. There is no argument there.
Right. And I mean, everybody, well, I won't say everybody, a lot of people who follow modern railroading know that these are being rebuilt right now. They're being rebuilt by Norfolk Southern. They're being rebuilt. AC 4400s are being rebuilt by Canadian Pacific. AC 4400s are being rebuilt by CSX. Union Pacific is even going through a rehab program. I'm not exactly familiar if it's a total overhaul, rebuild, what have you, but the chassis is still going to be usable. So the investment in this leads to a whole breadth of product that will, quite frankly, help us continue moving into the future on other more boutique projects. I know that there's a lot of people that have asked for some very unique items. You know, I call this a bread and butter locomotive. A bread and butter locomotive family like this will help finance SD40As, SDL39s, that type of boutique locomotive. I'm not saying we're doing those. Don't everybody get your hopes up. But that's what a bread and butter project finances, is the more specific locomotives and freight cars and projects.
Got to have a strong base to build on top of to make a pyramid.
Right. So, yes, here we are with Genesis 2.0 -9 40 44C CW CWL.
So do you want to go over all the different versions that we are actually offering now?
We can do that. I guess let's go ahead and start with the one that's on the screen here.
Okay.
This is, of course, the Dash 940C, and I don't exactly, where did my notes go? These, despite popular belief, or my popular belief before I became educated on these, was I thought standard cab GE, I thought that these were first delivered, but they're not. Honestly, the Chicago Northwestern units were the very first delivered at the end of '93. The Norfolk Southern Dash 940C, which we have here, was delivered in 1995, between January and April of '95. So these have some of the, I would say, mid-first generation nuances to them. There are some that have the early dynamic exhaust fascia. There's an in-between radiator grills in the back, and they still have the early tab dynamic intake. They still have the curved engine compartment hood, that type of stuff. So what is all of the stuff that I'm talking about? So if you look at the dynamic exhaust fascia, this is what I would call the early fascia, where the side panels are contoured over the bottom plate, and there are no notches. If we pull up a late model, quote unquote, late dynamic brake exhaust fascia, you see these side panels don't form over that bottom plate because there is no bottom plate, and you see these tabs here.
Oh yeah, I can see that. Okay.
So the NS version comes with both early and late. This SKU number, which is G31600, is actually one of the early versions, and this announcement has both the early and the late versions. Where is the announcement pack?
Well, it's probably changed during the production of that order group.
It was, but if you break it down by row number, there's no rhyme or reason to it.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I know. So after I have researched these, you guys get to have fun to pick them. So yeah, 8777 is the early, and then 8820 and 8855 are the late versions. The radiator intakes, the grills underneath the radiator intakes, rather. This is the sort of intermediate, let's call it, where it is a tall, short, short configuration, because the really early ones were a short, 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 and then the late configurations were a tall, short, tall. So this one's sort of in the middle.
Okay.
And for everyone who is asking, the radiator grills are see-through. This is a separate etched part, and I can take and hide it, maybe. And you can see through to the other side. Now, there is the gear tower there, so that is going to be visible a little bit. And then there is your chassis weight. So you can still see the chassis weight just a little bit. But the rear radiator grills are etched and see-through. What else do we have here? I mentioned the curvature of the roof. So this is the early version roof contour, which is completely curved. This was later changed. Let me see if I can find the Bnsf. I think that's Bnsf there. Yes. The roof was later changed to be angled instead of curved. I'm sure that was a production thing, because curved, you have to roll the steel, and that costs money. So this is the late angled version, whereas the Norfolk Southern Top Hats are the curved version. The radiator intakes on the right side, this is what I call the late iteration because it's a combination of tall, short, and tall. The early versions were all short, and then GE went to this version right here. Early air tank mounting with the brackets on the top of the air tanks as compared to being on the bottom. And then the dynamic intake panels, this is a tabbed version. So you see these 4 tabs and these 2 tabs here. The late version is just a smooth panel, and we'll get to that in a minute. And then separately applied, but they are separate spinning roller bearing caps.
Cool.
And this is an early truck. The Dash 940Cs for Norfolk Southern had 40-inch wheels on them. They had vertically mounted struts on the outside of the 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 4, and 6 bearing caps, which we have replicated. And the paint scheme for these Norfolk Southern versions are the thoroughbred scheme, the horsehead scheme.
And it's that hasn't been offered before in plastic, right? For the horsehead scheme.
Correct. This paint scheme has not been offered before in plastic.
Cool. So these are from the 2013 up until about 2018 era.
Yes. So the AC44C6M core rebuild program began in 2018, and they utilized the Dash 940Cs first to be rebuilt into the AC44C6Ms.
Okay, cool.
So there we have Norfolk
Southern down in Colton. That's cool.
Yeah, that's Colton. That was actually, I forget when I took that photo, but that was a railfan trip. Actually turned out to be a pretty good day. And soon, very soon, you can make that whole consist out of Athearn locomotives.
Ooh.
Because if you notice your UP Gevo right there, that's 5536. That's a model that we can do.
Okay.
And then I believe that's a 2000 series EMD back there, so that's an M-2, so we should be able to do that. And then, like I mentioned, very soon, you'll be able to hit that Genesis Dash 940 CW as well. But not
today.
So, there is your Norfolk Southern top hats.
Excellent.
As we have been doing with Genesis 2.0, where did my drawing go? Lit number boards. And we have the ground effect lights on these. And I have seen some comments that certain Dash 9s or all Dash 9s or no Dash 9s received the ground effect lights above the front trucks. That very well may be, but sometimes we have to make a judgment call on expectation versus reality. A lot of customers aren't the prototype specific to the rivet modeler, and they like features. So we have decided to leave the ground effect lights installed on these, and if the prototype modeler wants to remove them or snip a wire because Norfolk Southern didn't have ground effect lights on these, it's simple. Just pop your shell off and snip the wire and you're done. And you won't have a light there anymore.
Yeah, people would probably think it was defective if the light only worked on one side. So.
Right.
So I think it's a grounded decision.
Let's talk chassis. I know that there's been some questions about the chassis.
People want to know, can it pull?
So let's hide the body.
Ooh,
So there's your chassis right there. And there's your standard, quote unquote, standard underframe. But then we also have this lead slug that goes above the motor. This is how we did the SD60Ms.
Okay.
Then we have this lead slug back here, which is typical for Athearn product, as well as the speaker enclosure, which these have dual cube speakers in them, which is what we have installed in the 90 Mac. It's what we're installing in the 60M. It's what we installed in our latest run, GP38-2s. It's been coming in a lot of stuff.
I need to get my bunch of those to retrofit some of my older stuff.
Right. And then the DCC ready versions are 21-pin motherboard for anyone who would like to install a decoder of their choosing. And then we are working, if you see these little PCBs here, we are working, this should be a wireless shell removal. So the shell should be able to come off without any wires attached. So.
And then in the non-sound version, there will be space to put a speaker in the back there.
Yes, so they will come with a lead slug where the speaker goes, and then you can get the Athearn speaker assembly, and it will fit. It's a direct drop-in fit. So. Yeah,
and Harry Wong asked if it's actually lead. No, it's die-cast metal. It's not actually lead.
I apologize. Thank you for correcting me. It's the zinc alloy that we have been using for years now for our chassis. So yes, zinc alloy, not lead. Sorry.
You won't you won't get any sort of diseases from it.
Right.
Thanks.
But a new feature that we have worked on these is the front and rear walkway light.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So there's your front one, and then see if I can make anybody sick. There's your back one. So front and rear walkway lights, front and rear ditch lights for Norfolk Southern, ground effect lights, number boards.
That's a lot of lights.
Yeah. So
cool.
Norfolk Southern. There you have it, folks.
What else do we got here?
Let's move on to the one that I'm excited about, and I know that there's a lot of other people excited about these.
Oh yeah.
But let's look at some CWLs. There it is. What do you think about that?
I love how there's just no attempt at styling on the cab at all. It's all business. I really like the look of it.
Like moving a brick through the air. Yay.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's aerodynamic. Just make it flat.
Right. So
there's a lot of CN specific features on this one besides just the cab. I know like the anti-climbers are different. I was looking at the photos and it's got a single rear backup light, which I didn't know about, but that's really cool.
And that was later modified. So this is as delivered with the single light. And then, or was it the housing? There's a difference on the later versions.
Okay, no, that's cool. I knew they had that on some EMDs, but also GEs. That's cool.
Right. So this is not Canadian National, Janek. This is BC Rail because rock lights.
Ooh, working rock lights.
And they do illuminate. Yes, they do.
Excellent.
Then, of course, oh, and then you have your Canadian marker lights too, and those illuminate as well. Number boards, ground effect lights, and no rear ditch lights this time, but we have the single rear headlight. And
10 lights on the front and 1 on the back. Perfect.
Yep, we're only going forward, right?
Something like that, yeah.
So this is the CWL unit. This has the more quote-unquote standard truck with 42-inch wheels on them. This has the Canadian anti-climber. This has the Canadian pilot on them, the Canadian rock lights, the Canadian walkways. So these are different. The CWLs have different snow grates in the walkways than the Canadian National CWs. So these are different, and this is a separately applied etched metal component.
Nice.
And then here's the rear one as well. This one's separately applied and see-through. So you can see through to all of the piping that's underneath.
Oh, that's going to look so cool.
And if it'll go away, it's not going to hide it. Where did it go? There it goes. And there's all your piping. There's your traction motor cables to your rear truck.
Okay.
Where are I think those are the sanding lines. No, that's a compressor drain. Cool. The Canadian fuel tank with the waste retention tank on the rear. This is an early contour hood. This has the Canadian. So these X panels here forward of the air intake, they most generally were 2 X panels, but these Canadians had 1 large X panel. Then they had the single large X panel on the roof. These had the late dynamic exhaust fascia. No air conditioner box. So this was just basically a walkway area. But remember, this is BC rail. Look at your crew emergency exit door. Conductor emergency exit on the back.
On both sides.
Yep.
Cool.
So that is correct for the BC rail units. What else do we have here? Like you mentioned, we have the single headlight at the rear. We have the hood and access door. We have the low mounted or standard, quote unquote, standard sand fill on the rear. We have the rear Canadian style anti-climber, and we have the rear Canadian specific placement pilot details.
Yeah, I noticed that looking at the artwork. They put both of the spare knuckles off on one side, which is
and I have no shame admitting this, but I don't know what that guy is. So if anybody knows what this little part is so that we can name it correctly,
looks like
I would love to know. What's that, Janek?
Looks like a cup holder.
Yeah. Well, and so I thought that it was the EOTD bracket holder because it has the glad hand here. So I figured maybe that was like an airline for the EOTD. I don't know. If anybody knows what that is, please tell me.
CJ Griggs says it is an EOT holder.
Okay, that's kind of what I thought.
That makes sense, yeah.
So anyway, so the Canadians have this EOT holder here on the engineer side of the pilot, and so they moved their spare knuckles to the conductor side of the pilot.
Okay, cool.
So
now we need a Genesis 2.0 EOT device in the next run.
Why did you say that? Gonna have to have words with you when we hang up.
Oh, well, you know.
Air dryer, low mounted air tank brackets, but these are the larger air tank brackets because of the differences in the Canadian fuel tanks. So these are Canadian specific air tanks for the CWL units. The air filters. This has the early style tabbed dynamic brake intake panels. And the panel here just behind the dynamic brake intake is specific to BC Rail, because whenever we go to the CN unit in a minute, you'll notice that it's different.
Mm-hmm. I did notice that, yeah.
And there we have it. Hood, cab front mounted bell. So.
Yep, so the snow doesn't get in it.
Right. Oh, and then the specific horn with all 5 chimes forward. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get one of these, I think, and use it as a run-through unit.
So that's your BC Rail -9 44 CWL. So like we were talking, let's go to the Canadian National, which is this guy. And so we do not have rock lights on the front pilot.
Okay.
We have the MU receptacles outboard of the anti-climber. I assume those are the dummies. Still, we have the marker lights. We still have the high-mounted bell. We have the high-mounted number boards. This road number, Canadian National, has the early dynamic exhaust fascia. Canadian National 3-chime horn. The snow walkway grates. Same rear pilot details except with the added dummy receptacles. But so here is the difference in this access panel right here. So this is the CN specific one, and there's a little drip tray to keep water and snow and ice and junk off of the door panel or getting inside the door panel. And then there's your BC Rail version. So BC Rail version, Canadian National version, they are different. Different antenna arrangements from the Canadian National to the BC Rail. So is it starting to make sense why this took 3 years?
Yeah, I mean, you would think the CWLs would be very similar, and they are, but when you get down to the details, it takes a whole new body and new pilots and different horns just to do it correctly. So.
Right. So, all right. What else do we have here? So there's your -940C and your -944 CWL. Let's move on. This should be, what is number 10? I think that is, yeah, that's Bnsf. So, well, let's step back for a minute to the CWLs. So BC Rail only had 4 of these guys. And so we are doing all 4 in their as-delivered scheme. We wanted to make sure that we hit the BC Rail guys before acquisition to Canadian National. So you'll notice that there is no yellow frame stripe on these. These are basically factory fresh.
Okay, and that would have been up until sometime in the 2000s, probably.
Honestly, I would have to ask Rob Gruber on that one. I don't have those dates in front of me right now. If you're watching, when did the BC Rail come into CN?
Yeah, I don't know that one, but these are as delivered. So 1995, it looks like, or is that 93?
95.
Okay.
So, but anyway, BC Rail only had 4 of these things. So, the plan is right now is we're just going to do them as delivered, and that's kind of it. We're not making. I am not going to say that we are never going to do them again, because that's wrong, and I'm not going to promise that. However, when we do run these again, it will not be in 2 years. I doubt it'll be in 4 to 5 years. But when we do rerun these, it will be the later iteration, more 2000 teens iteration with yellow frame stripe and the different headlight housing at the rear, and that type of stuff. So the BC Rail guys, if you're looking for one unscathed, if you want a model of it, now is the time to get it.
Yeah, and if you're a modern guy, then you can either buy one of these and modify it, or wait for the next run, whenever that is. We don't know.
Right, and that was the other thinking, was it's much easier to add yellow frame sill striping than it is to take it off and put the little white dots on.
Oh yeah, I can vouch for that.
So, I do see a question. Matt Martin asking about CWL's different length. So they are a different length, but the different length comes in over the coupler pulling faces. After various checking with outside resources and such, we found that the pilot face to pilot face length was the same as the 44 CWs. The pulling faces were different, and the anti-climber length was different.
Okay. So we got that accounted for then.
Correct. And that goes for the CN units as well. We want to touch on the CN units. There were 23 CN units. Yes, we have a typo in here. It says CP. Sorry about that. I'll take the blame on that one. I was asleep at the wheel when I wrote that. Sorry. But the Canadian National had 23 of these units. We are doing just 3 for now because there's more that we can do with these a little later. So I still encourage everybody to get their pre-orders in for the Canadian National units as well. So
Cool.
Yes, there's your Canadian National. So there's your artwork for your CWLs. I think no, I don't think this is the one. It's a tie between this one and another version that we didn't announce that I'm most excited for. The CWLs, this is first time in plastic.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to getting these. I'm looking forward to see how these turn out. As a note, as we said, everything's sort of a little bit behind due to the extra month shutdown back in March due to COVID. The samples left our factory last night, so I should have samples in hand to show on Tuesday. If I don't get them until after our show on Tuesday, I will get photos and we will show photos. And I do have a couple of photos that we can share a little later here.
Excellent.
But samples are on the way. So this is not vaporware here. There's a sample of the model right there. I forgot to show this with the 40C. So here is molded plastic of our Dash 9.
Nice.
So anyway, and I know it's ours because there are some differences between ours and others. So what was I talking about? All right, so let's go to the 44 CWs.
Yeah, other road names here.
And where would the 44 CW be without BNSF? Because how many did BNSF have? Besides a lot.
Someone's going to comment, but it was well over 1,000.
The number is 1,693.
Okay.
That includes the 700 series, which I will call BNSF War Bonnet. I'm not going to call it Fake Bonnet. It's BNSF War Bonnet. So here we go.
We got the Heritage 1 units here. But, important to note that what we're doing with these is we're actually portraying them as they look today in service.
Correct. So that's what we were trying to go for on the BNSF units, because BNSF is basic. Well, there is no basically to it, but west of the Mississippi, and you can't go anywhere without BNSF. Mm-hmm. And seeing, the Transcon comes up to Chicago, and I've seen BNSF is everywhere. So we wanted to hit the sort of quote unquote modern era on these guys. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we replicated with the antenna arrangements. What am I looking for? 31510. There it is. So there's your antenna arrangements for your BNSF H1s. And these are all the modified version. Of course, there's your signature gull wing cab. Mm-hmm. But these have been modified. I think the H1s were modified. Where'd my notes go? So as delivered, the Heritage 1s did not have the extra hinges in the middle of the power assembly doors on the roof. They were just one solid panel. So okay. This is, so what did I say this was? Number 510? This is number 977. So our research photographs of number 977 show that these hood doors have been modified. So we have the modified hood doors, and we have this modified panel that is underneath the exhaust section that has the 4 bolts on each end of it. That was a modification as well. So this is the up-to-date modified hood for these Heritage 1 units. These were delivered with the late dynamic exhaust fascia, the twin X panels in front of the air intake, and the air conditioners. I found on the air conditioners on the Heritage 1s, they were pretty standard in the photos that we based our research off of.
Right.
The Heritage 2s were changed, so those are kind of fun. We'll get to those in a minute. Still, we have the early tabbed dynamic intake panel, and then we have the bottom bracket mounted air tanks on these guys. That was a change from the Norfolk Southern and the Santa Fe because they were top mounted brackets. These have been changed to the bottom mounted brackets.
Okay.
Like I said, gull wing cab, high number boards, 2-piece grab irons on the corners of the nose, ditch lights, non-alternating because Bnsf don't alternate ditch lights.
Right.
And 3-piece cab windshield. Not windshield, but side windows. So what else do we have here? That's a lot of it. So this has the late.
We did the modified hood doors. That's a neat detail.
Mm-hmm. This has the late access panels on top, so there's only one large one instead of having 2 little ones, one on the side of it, one in the front of it. So this is a quote-unquote late roof arrangement, I guess you could say, and then the antenna arrangement. So there's your Bnsf H1 3D. Okay. And then let's take a look at the art, because I'm pretty happy with the artwork on these.
It's all different. Remember the road.
All different because, like we said, we were depicting 2010 plus, so all the labels are different. And my art department, our art department, it's not mine. Our art department was ready to get in the car and drive to Illinois and strangle me. So I feel their pain, but I'm pretty happy with where we're at with these. But if you notice, we're doing number 1050. Which has the Heritage 1 body paint, but Heritage 2 lettering. And so we've done this one in Prime for Grime, so the colors are a little faded to replicate that. And I have a couple of photos.
The green faded almost to black on that one, actually.
Right. I have photos from a friend of ours that has allowed me to share them, and from Matt Martin's Flickr page.
Oh, nice.
There it is. You can sort of see, was there another unit in front of it? So yeah, nope. There is an H2, and you can sort of see the orange is clearly in better shape. So that's why we sort of left this guy in Prime for Grime. Just I liked it. I wanted to do it. So.
Yeah, I have photos of it. This thing it's a bit of a celebrity. Anytime there's something different out there, people tend to shoot it. So we had good photos of this one. I know I shot it myself. It's actually the photo on the announcement. So.
That one?
Yep.
So, so yeah, Prime for Grime, it would be perfect. You can, it's a perfect starting point for all the weathering on those hood doors up there. So, and if you can sort of see it, but this has the extra hinges in the roof too, the power assembly doors. You can see 2 sets of hinges.
Okay.
So, and the model will have that. So, so there's your Bnsf. Well, your Bnsf Heritage 1s. Bnsf Heritage 2s. So the argument still stands of why did you do a duplicate Bnsf? Well, this is a different road number series. The others on the market are in the 4000s. We did the 5000s. There are variants within them, so it is different. And again, there's how many -9s for the Bnsf alone? What I say, over 1,600 of them?
1,680 something, I think you said. Yeah, that's a lot.
Right. So 4,000 series, 5,000 series, it's not going to hurt to have a couple if you're a Bnsf modeler. So,
They're them bones.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So artwork wise, they're pretty straightforward. But like we mentioned with the H1s, the H2s, they're era 2010 plus. So the labels are in different places per road number. Again, furthering the desire to drive across the country and strangle me from the art department.
Yeah, especially those reflectors on the frame. There's no two alike. They're
Right.
just all over the place.
Right. Different air conditioners on these, different hood arrangements on these, because some of the no. Their Heritage ones had the different hood hinge assembly doors. The Heritage 2s all had the split hood power assembly doors. It's mostly down to art and air conditioners on these. So,
And the antennas I know are different setup from the H1s as well, right?
What is?
The antennas on the cab there.
Yes. So that is something else worth noting. What am I looking for? I'm looking for 13. Am I looking for 13? What's that one? No. Looking for 14. All right, here we go. So here is your Heritage 2 with the large GPS dome. So, and I don't have it shown on the 3D, but so there is a long antenna, quote unquote skate antenna, that is on either side of that large GPS dome. That will be included in a poly bag. So that was installed for PTC purposes around 2017, I think it was. 2017, 2018, 2016, somewhere in there. So we mentioned the paint scheme was good for 2010 plus. So anyone doing 2010 to 2016, they don't need that large skate antenna.
Right.
Anyone doing post or current day, you do need that skate antenna. So it's included in a poly bag. That photo doesn't show it. That's 2010. I'm going to, there's a 2019 photo for Mr. Martin. That guy right there. So that long skate antenna will be included in a poly bag with all of the H2 units.
Cool. All right.
Like I said, split power assembly doors on the hood, the angled hood section of the doors. Standard pilot face details, steel bell. Standard rear pilot face details. Air conditioners. So I don't know the specifics on the air conditioners, but I know that they're different. And that was one of the fun things about this whole project is we're replicating the different air conditioners. This is number 514, which is number 5009. No, that was number 517, which is number 5146. So if you notice on 5146, it has different air conditioner, vent, and panel arrangements.
Okay.
5009 is different from the previous, and we have replicated the different air conditioners. So if you get multiple Athearn Genesis 2.0 BNSF-9s, you can interchange your air conditioning units if you so desire. So, and I think overall I had, for the whole project, I think I had 7 different air conditioner configurations.
Yeah, that's plus you got C&W without the vents, or if you already.
And that's what I was going to say. Technically, I have 6 because I forgot on the air conditioner spreadsheet. One of them is the top hat, so that one doesn't count. So there's 6. So there's your standard one. There's like 2 different ones for the Santa Fe configuration, BNSF configurations, and then there's the non-air conditioner filler for the Northwestern, and then there's one for some other roads that we haven't announced yet. So I'm not going to spill the beans on that. What else do we have here? That's kind of what you got for BNSF.
Okay.
5000 class Heritage 2 BNSF-9. What else do we have here, Janek?
Well, we haven't talked about the UP or the C&W specifically.
Let's talk about the Chicago Northwestern.
Yeah. Well, those were the first -9s, so it makes sense that we'd offer them in the first Athearn Genesis 2.0 -9 run.
Right. So the first delivery of -9 was Chicago Northwestern, as you mentioned. And their first unit was number 8601, which is the XGE demonstrator unit 8601. So this is number 1.
Okay.
Road specific details, low number boards, low headlight. We have the roof vent, because when these were delivered, they did not have air conditioner. They had the space filler, but they didn't have the hardware inside. So I can only imagine running through the Powder River Basin that first summer with these things. Ugh.
Yeah, just one little vent. That's all you get.
Yeah, open door policy. So these are the early trucks with the reinforcement bulge on them. And the neat thing about this early truck is that it was a 40-inch wheel, like the Norfolk Southern units. The later trucks without that bulge on them were 42-inch wheels. So the more you know.
Yeah.
This has the larger style plow on the front of the front pilot. It has the anti-climber support bracket mounted ditch lights, and the single piece corner nose grabs. It's just little details like that that got me excited. Whenever I first saw the CAD for these corner grabs, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
But I can be a dork like that. So this has the early panel configuration on the roof above the not the radiator, but the engine intakes. And then this has the curved hood profile and no extra hinges on the power assembly doors.
Okay.
Early intakes on the radiator doors that are all short. Rear pilot details, short radiator intake doors on the opposite side, early air tanks with the high brackets, early dynamic brake intakes with the tab panels. Yeah.
Someone said the C&W has 2 air conditioners, 2 windows, one on each side. So.
Right. My uncle has a 1956 Chevy Bel Air that has been in the family since it was new, and in the owner's manual, under air conditioner, it literally says "roll down windows."
Perfect.
So, anyway,
these C&W units had that K5H horn, which sounded really cool. It was more of a Canadian sounding horn, actually, and we will replicate that on the decoder. It was a very unique sound for these.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I saw George poke on here a minute ago. I don't know if he's still listening or not, but
Yeah, I saw his name pop up. He's probably hoping for a Mopac one.
yeah, really, no Mopac.
No, sorry.
But yeah, so we have been working with soundtracks on sound files for these things, trying to make them sound as good as we can with that dual cube speaker assembly in it. So should be good to go. So anyway, so that's your Chicago Northwestern units. I will sort of also say, you know, this is early cab variations because there are some different detail features. Nope, not the body. There's some different detail features in the segment right in front of the air conditioner unit. There's 10 louvers and an access door here versus just a 4 louver panel. It's a different early versus late configuration, that type of stuff.
Cool.
And then I guess, what do we have left? I forget. Oh, Union Pacific. Well, let's talk about the artwork first for Chicago Northwestern. Again, these are delivered, so they're basically all the same. But the difference is you know how I mentioned the reinforcement bulge on the side of the truck?
Mm-hmm.
That was only on about the first half of their quantity of Dash 9s. Definitely in the 8700s. I don't know if it was in the late 8600s or not, but that went away. So if you look at our announcement sheet, number 8613 and number 8646 have that bulge on them. 8701 doesn't. So prototype specific.
Very cool.
And then that rounds out with Union Pacific. So these are the 9700 series UP, and Union Pacific did order 40-9s.
Yep.
But that was it.
Drop in the bucket for them, but
right. They went into AC power very early on, and they only had 40 of these guys, and these are original UP ordered units. But these are, what did I say, 2012 plus, with the exception of 9730, which is 2006 plus. So these are yellow frame stripe, repainted lightning scheme, no flag, and little baby wings on the nose.
Yeah, they look like they're missing artwork there, but these are all repaints that ended up without the flag, and they're all unique to each other too, because the lightning stripe is all over the place. If you look at 9730 on the bottom versus 9702 on the top, for example.
Right. Oh, and these guys had different air conditioning units as well, and some of them had different. Some of them had the hinges added to the power assembly doors. Some of them didn't. So, but here's your 3D for the Union Pacific. I think 21. What did I say? Yes. So that's Union Pacific. Nope, that's not. That is. Low number boards, raised grab irons on the nose. That's the Union Pacific specific detail.
See that?
Yeah. Nose door window removed.
Okay.
Large plow, anti-climber support mounted ditch lights. This one, which is 9702, has the split power assembly doors, and then early radiator intake with the 3 short on this side and all short on the other side. Later Union Pacific style antenna arrangements. This has the early dynamic brake exhaust fascia detail on it. This has the large X panel in front of the turbo intake, engine intake. And this one has the later style truck with the 42-inch wheel. And if you notice, I think, yes, 9730 still had the bulge on the truck. So this one still has the early trucks on it.
Okay. That's interesting.
So, prototype specific details. So does the 3 years makes a little more sense now?
Yeah, I could see it.
So that's what we got for Dash 9s. What questions can I answer for you, Janek?
Well, like we said in the beginning, we've been getting a lot of comments across a lot of different platforms. I think we addressed the why, and I think we addressed the what. We talked about the AC 4400s, and we did talk about the Genesis 2.0 features, all the lighting features, spinning bearing caps, see-through walkways and steps. Let's see. I did have a couple more questions that I see popping up quite a bit. There are some people asking, okay, why are you guys doing these versions? Why not SP? Why not Santa Fe? Why not some other version? So do we have plans to do those versions in the future?
Absolutely. So you remember I mentioned, gosh, almost an hour ago now. In January of 2019, we took a pause to really study this project.
Mm-hmm.
And if you notice, the closest duplication, like I mentioned earlier, the closest duplication is these Bnsf Heritage Tues, but they're in a different road number series. So the detail variations are different. So really, we haven't duplicated anything, and that was done very tactfully to have that argument that we didn't copy somebody else. Now, it's a Dash 9 locomotive, which is a Dash 9, which is a Dash 9. There will be duplication. The first run, there are no duplicates. Now, Norfolk Southern Top Hat, oh, that's a duplicated locomotive. Paint scheme's different.
Yeah.
The CWLs are first time in plastic.
Mm-hmm.
The Union Pacific units are the 9700 series, which are Union Pacific's original order. The Chicago Northwesterns are prototypically accurate for as delivered anything Chicago Northwestern, late 93, excuse me. And then the Bnsf Heritage ones, especially that Prime for Grime unit.
Yeah, doing the 2010 and up version versus as delivered makes those different as well. So
to answer the question of will Santa Fe be done? Will Southern Pacific be done? Yes, because I have researched it all, and in the future, we will have the parts for all of these variations. I can only think of about 2 different components that I didn't cut tooling for, and if anybody can find them, no, I don't want to say that because that's going to be a challenge. No. There are 2 different variations that I didn't cut tooling for, and if we run out of variations and we need those 2 pieces of tooling, I will be extremely shocked. So yes, Santa Fe will be coming. Bnsf Warbonnet will be coming. Southern Pacific will be coming. Canadian National 2-piece windows will be coming. BC Rail 2-piece windows will be coming.
And those will have the teardrop cabs.
Correct.
Windows, which I don't think anyone's offered that before either.
Correct. Not mass-produced plastic models. So as far as I am concerned, and see that again, I go back to that's why this project took 3 years, and that's why at the 18-month mark, we really had to look into this thing and say, what do we have invested? What are we gaining by delaying another locomotive announcement by 18 months because we're not first to the market?
Right. Well, and like we talked about, all this tooling has to be done all at the beginning, and that's to ensure that it all fits together and works together. if we are cutting different versions down the road, it may or may not fit with those first versions because, you know, the tooling as it gets used, it does wear out, you know, on a very small scale, but every time it gets used, it does wear out and the metal thickness changes a little bit. So,
right. I mean, that's exactly it. It's a mold is a mechanical device. There's no other way to put it. Mechanical devices wear out, especially whenever it's under the extreme pressures that an injection mold uses. Because I mean, what is a model locomotive except plastic pellets before it gets shot into the mold, and that takes very high pressure, very high heat. So those two combinations add up, and whenever that thing gets used, it'll wear out. And then, you know, little parting lines, little flashes start showing up. And so that's one of those things that I want to do everything now, so it's all fine-tuned now.
yeah, sure.
Because
sense.
like you said, whenever you add a new part to a worn out part, it ends up being a big headache. So pretty much everything for the Dash 9 is done. There's a lot more I'm excited to announce later. But this is what we felt comfortable with on the first announcements. So
I think this one really, it shows the breadth of what we can do because we're showing all these different versions, and all of the other versions are sort of based on these. So
right. So I see one little comment over here. Somebody was asking about will we fix the cab headlight on the Norfolk Southern versions? There's no fixing it because this is all brand new tooling. This is not rehashed blue box tooling. This is not rehashed RTR tooling. This is all brand new tooling. So it will not be fixed. It will be correct from the start.
Okay.
I saw another comment about, where did it go?
They're coming fast and furious with the comments.
Yeah, you need to think out of the box so you don't keep playing catch up. I said at the start of this thing that I'm not surprised that we're not first to the market. The AC 4400s are planned. I don't expect to be first to the market for those. But as I have said numerous times on our Facebook Live events, that we have a development plan and we very much plan to stick to it. And if that means that we're second on some model announcements, that's okay. Does that mean we get the majority of the market? Not all the time. Is that what we're going for? No. We are modelers just like everybody else that's on these forums. We personally and passionately want to see these models. We want to bring you good product. So we're going to continue to move forward with our product development plans so that we can come back and do some of the more unique locomotives. Like I said at the beginning, SD40As, SDL39s, and again, I'm not promising those, but larger projects like this that have so much meat on the bone allow us to do some of the smaller projects like those. And that's why we are continuing to run with our product development strategy in order to do this.
Yeah, and to that effect, we're not ignoring, you know, all these requests that we get. We really do take them seriously. But like we said in the beginning, it's a very long process to do all this research, to decide an idea and to go all the way through with it. Once we've made that commitment, you know, anything else that happens, we're at the mercy of it. So
right. I mean, seriously, all these 3D files that I've had up, I had to make sure that I had others closed so I didn't inadvertently show one I wasn't supposed to, because like half of the comments that we've been seeing on the Tuesday lives, I'm actively working on them. One of them is almost ready to go into tooling. I've got another one that I just got sent off to our engineering team to get the CAD started. And I am working on a third one. So, I mean,
there's a lot
of we have a lot of stuff in the works right now, and I'm hoping that my efforts are worthwhile. So
Well, we've announced tons of new stuff this year alone, I know, and we're not done yet. So
right. So let's go back to that. So at the beginning of the year, we said we had 6 brand new tooling project announcements. And actually, we made it 7 because we totally forgot about one. So let's think about this. In January, we had the SD80 Mac. That's one.
Mhm.
Those are still progressing nicely, by the way. I have seen questions and comments about that. The 80 Macs are still in production. I still think they're slated for December. I'm not sure. So anyway, 80 Macs number 1. SD60Ms were number 2 in March.
Right.
We have had Dash 9s now. And
That's
the bonus was the in-scale long runner.
Oh yeah.
So, in-scale guys, yes, I know it's not what you want, but there is still some development happening on in-scale. And I'm actively working on some in-scale stuff with my engineering team as well, not as we speak, but I'm presently working on some in-scale projects. I've seen all the in-scale comment, guys. You think we don't care about you, but that's just not true. But I will say HO outsells in-scale by a long shot. So,
yeah.
So that means we have had 6, which one was a bonus. We have had 6 of our 7 new announcements for the year. And our next announcement is planned for November. And I am going to go broke on the next announcement.
I think a lot of us are.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I will be living in a shanty made out of Athearn boxes.
I'm already going through my finances and seeing where I can pull money from. But it's interesting on the N-scale too. We did all of our containers in N-scale, and so there's still a lot of those that we haven't announced yet. So we are producing new stuff in N-scale, and we're going to continue to do so.
Right. So, so that's what I've got. What else do we think? Because somebody was asking if we're going to do XYZ on the Dash 9s, and ultimately the answer is yes.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the other comments that we've been seeing throughout the day is, why are we ignoring requests for XYZ items? The simple answer is there's not enough time in the day.
Mm-hmm.
The straight answer is we're not ignoring you. There's just not enough time in the day. But all of these suggestions that everybody has been asking for, AC 4400s, Dash 8s, California cars, SD70 ACUs, Dash 7s.
Oh, those are all great suggestions. They would sell extremely well. There's no doubt about that at all.
Right. And they are on our list.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying they're on the stamped, approved, get them in tooling tomorrow, start the research yesterday list, but they are definitely on the list, and there's a priority to said list.
Right.
So.
Right. We got to go with what's going to, like you said, the pyramid. We got to build the base of the pyramid first. So the bread and butter, the widespread prototypes.
Right. To sort of follow up that question, why have we only been announcing modern items lately? Well, that goes back to the bread and butter type thing. This Dash 9 project will give us models for the foreseeable future. I mean, we've got a good 10 years worth of announcements for these things that we could run and not duplicate anything.
Oh, yeah. We've already got 2 or 3 more runs planned out, and that's just the beginning for these.
Correct. And when I say not duplicate anything, I mean not duplicate road numbers. There will be paint scheme duplications. There's no question about that.
Mm-hmm.
But as I said, quote unquote bread and butter locomotive, we get 10 runs out of these things minimum. We can go back and do the more boutique locomotives, which I'm excited for. I know that there's been people jumping at some of my comments, holding me to the promise, but I told you don't take that as a promise. So there's a lot of stuff that we are definitely interested in, definitely passionate about.
Yeah.
So,
and sort of to build on that, why are we doing so many modern items. We're also doing a lot of transition and 70s era items. Yes, the tooling already exists for those items, so it's new paint scheme announcements, not new tooling announcements. But we've done tons of F units lately, Jeep 7s and 9s up the wazoo. We just did some GP38-2s in all new paint schemes, I'm pretty sure. So we are keeping the ball rolling with those projects as well.
Right. So there's, and okay, let's go back to that. Oh heck, I can't remember what it is now. The product development list. Let's go back to that. There are first gen items on that product development list. There are second gen items on that product development list. But do they have the same legs? Maybe not. Maybe more. We don't know. But some of these projects, like the Dash 9s, and again, we had 18 months and we didn't know anybody else was going to announce these. Had somebody else announced a high quality Dash 9 6 months into the project, would have pulled it.
Yeah, we're at that point in time, we're not so far along that we can't get back on our feet if we change gears.
Right. Because okay, let's think about this. Let's say that the majority of us here are rail fans. I like to travel to go chase trains. How much does it cost to go travel to chase trains somewhere? Let's take a look at that. You've got travel, you've got fuel, you've got car, you've got hotel, you've got food, or you've got airplane tickets. So you're at a minimum of $1,500 before you've got salaries in there, because whenever I go to measure a locomotive, I'm getting paid. I'm on salary for that. So you've got my salary wrapped up into the travel expenses. And there were 3 trips for that. And actually one of those trips was on my dime. Anyway, so you've got all the R&D trips. You've got all the R&D time that I spent into this thing, and because I didn't do all those trips right up front. They were spaced out. But had we done only one trip and only had maybe 6 months of my time into this thing, no question, we would have pulled the pin and switched to AC 4400s. No question.
Mm-hmm.
But 18 months, I had those 3 trips in. I had 18 months of my time in. I had the package to my engineers. They had their time started. And an engineer's salary is not cheap.
No.
So that's where we're at with Dash 9s. I'm going to get off that soapbox now. I'm sorry.
No, that's we can take it over to some of the questions that we're seeing pop up here. I've got about 15 more minutes before I should start packing it up here.
Okay, yeah, we'll probably call it for about 10 more minutes, and we'll call it an evening from there. I appreciate everyone sticking around. I know that we're hitting various dinner times throughout the country, but thanks for sticking with us and listening to me jabber on about Dash 9 locomotives and project development. Didn't know we were going to go down that road, but here we are.
You're a raving lunatic. You've been talking about it and thinking about them for too long.
Right. I'm just happy to see product. Oh, no. Speaking of seeing, I didn't show anything. We've got to go back. See, okay, yeah, well, I showed this. So
you showed that.
Here is the Norfolk Southern Top Hat. And we'll just go over this kind of quick. But other side, and there's your grills. There's your see-through grills. I know for some reason a lot of people were asking about this, but see-through grills, there they are.
Okay, very nice.
There's the backside, etchings on the radiator, high-mounted sand-filled, dual light housing, separately applied grabs, which is standard, see-through steps, spare knuckles, air dryer, high-mounted brackets, blah-de-da-de-da. Bnsf, here we go. 5000 series Bnsf. This one still has what? Oh, that's a 6-step walkway. So that was another difference. Oh, I forgot about the walkway gussets. There's a lot of walkways with these. I'm going to leave it at that. But you can sort of see it here. So this is a 5-step walkway with a corner in the gusset. And this is a 6-step walkway with a smooth gusset. Anyway.
I love the grill on top of the AC unit there. That's
yeah. Isn't that awesome? There's a little fan down in there. We're going to paint that silver too. Like I said, split power assembly doors, engineer side. So anyway, there you go. Plastic exists. I'll get the samples next week. We'll talk about them next week. Some more. Okay. Let's talk about some customer questions here. Somebody's asking about Athearn shirts. We're looking into that. We've got Janek and I have some much needed relief headed our way starting next week, and hopefully we can get some t-shirts turned loose included in that relief. More coming on that. I saw something. Do you guys have pics from the P42s? Go to our Facebook page and scroll down the posts. We posted some, was it this week or last week?
I want to say it was last week. We posted to the Athearn page, and we also posted, I don't know if you remember, the Amtrak Modelers Facebook group.
That's right.
There as well. We should see about getting some of those up on the website too, if we can.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. My ground effect lights, are you talking about truck lights, step lights, or walkway lights? We are talking about the lights above the front truck, and the -9 also has walkway lights at the front and the rear of the hood and nose. So those aren't ground effect lights, but these have quote unquote walkway lights at the front and the rear.
Okay.
No step lights though. Our answer is always going to be yes, but we're a little biased. Going along -9s of the various rebuild programs on the books to happen soon. They are planned for us to release as a model, but there is no date. Just keep watching the monthly announcements.
Yeah.
Could we see some high quality -8s down the line now that you have the -9s? Well, the answer is always possibly, but if you're speaking if -8s will be built on the same chassis, no, a -9 has a longer frame. Are the 80 Max still on for pre-order? No. There might be some room left with your dealer. Please check with your dealer or not. Check with some of the large dealers. I know Train World usually orders pretty deep, and they'll probably be able to get some. You might check with Overland Hobbies in Muncie, Indiana. I know that he typically orders a couple of extra. And heck, you might even check with Arnie's Trains out in Westminster, California. They might even have some, but they are in California, maybe not 80 Max. That's the East Coast Locomotive.
Well, you never know with what they'll order.
Right. That's true. Kevin has his finger on the pulse pretty good out there. So
Yes, definitely.
more steam products, 844 with correct modern plumbing, GS4, 4449 daylight with correct sounds. We're definitely looking at a couple of steam projects. Like I was talking earlier about the product development list.
Mm-hmm.
There's one or two on the list. Depends on how you want to look at it as one or two. So
there's some people asking about the November announcements. Yes, we will be talking about the rest of that content on our show next week, and probably the week after that as well.
The November announcements, we're not talking about that next week.
Okay, the current monthly announcements.
August. Well, technically July, but month of August.
Yeah, because we also announced a bunch of freight cars with some new paint schemes this month, so we'll go over those on the subsequent shows.
Right. Zachary Maggart, UP Heritage again soon. I assume you're talking about ACES. Keep your eyes on the monthly announcements. There will be something coming for ACES. NS Wildcat -9s with and the old horse logo. Don't worry about it, buddy. We got you covered. Just keep your eyes on future announcements. Bnsf AC44C4, no, AC44CMs. They are on the list. Again, no date. New Triclops Genesis 2.0. Yes, there is another announcement planned for those. I don't know what the date is, but we're definitely going to wait for the first production to deliver.
Right.
And then we'll see what goes from there. Matthew, unfortunately, there has been no update with Via or Go Transit. We've poked the proper contacts again today and earlier this week, and still nothing. We're still trying because we still very much want to make Via for the public. But until we get the go-ahead, we can't produce it. Let's see. Somebody said weekly reminder for
They're
something.
asking for Sue line on the ST60Ms. I think we can make that work.
Let's see. Random thought, but superliners. That is a very random thought. I'm not going to say no. There's a chance for a play off of something else.
Yeah, I'm interested, and I don't know if there's a replacement plan for those or if they're going to be around for a while more. I'm not sure.
It's hard to say.
But,
let's see. I lost a couple. Ontario Northland Jeep 9s and 38-2s. Now that's interesting. I like the Jeep 9 idea. We've looked into the GP 38-2s, and there's some tooling that we would have to create for it.
right.
We don't want to get dirt on our face, kind of like we did with the CP. So we want to make sure that we have the parts correct first.
I was looking at the GP9s the other day, and I think those are doable. I don't see anything on those that we don't have.
Right.
The only question is what paint scheme would we do? Because I could think of at least 3.
Yeah. That'd be interesting because I'd only got more Jeep 9s coming up. So
Yeah.
let's see. 90-43. Ooh, you hit a sore spot for me.
We were just talking about this.
Yeah, because you added that 43 in there. It's not a 90-43. The builder's tag says SD90 Mac. Anyway, good possibility. Good locomotive. We like it.
Yep.
I can help you guys. I work in the diesel shop in North Bay. Send a note to help@athearn.com, and they will forward it to Janek and myself, and we will get in touch with you for your assistance. Thank you for offering, James.
Yeah.
Sean Teller, weekly reminder, but I think they mentioned them already. ACUs, I think that's what you always ask for, Sean. I'm starting to remember names now. That's not good.
I'm glad we have some repeat watchers. That means that we're not boring everyone to tears every time. So.
Right. We'll start looking into Charger Locomotive again. We will not. We were everything short of given a cease and desist by Siemens. I'm not happy with how that went down, but we will not be pursuing the Siemens Charger. We've basically been told no. Arkansas and Missouri. Okay, hang on a minute. So the reason that the Charger hurts is, you know how I was touching on the Dash 9 about how we have travel and time and engineering work all tied up into this Dash 9, and that's why we kept pursuing the Dash 9? We had that same time and trip and money and investment into the Charger, and we were told no after all of that fact, and they knew about it.
And we had no choice but to drop it. And it's not like, oh, you know what, we could keep going and see what happens. No, it was, you got to stop doing it now.
Because I could very much be talking about a Siemens Charger tonight instead of Dash 9s, and we would be working on AC 4400s. I don't know. So anyway, Siemens Charger is not coming from Athearn. Arkansas, Missouri SD70 Aces. We're hopeful. We're trying. We're talking to people.
Yeah, working out the licensing to get those done. But that would be cool.
Will Genesis 2.0 stay motive power, or will it expand into rolling stock? I see that expanding into rolling stock, Janek, because Genesis freight cars have been very nice. I mean,
they already had through steps and spinning roller bearing caps and a lot of those features.
And there's really no lights to add unless it's a caboose.
I guess, and this is sort of a rhetorical question, but sort of not. What would a Genesis 2.0 rolling stock look like? What features would it have over an existing one?
My only guess with a Genesis 2.0 rolling stock would be on par with the Arrowhead model's railgun gondola,
which is a nice car, you know, no matter who you ask.
Yes, very nice car. I tip my hat to Blaine Hadfield on that one.
Yeah.
I don't know that you'll see Genesis 2.0 rolling stocks of that caliber coming from Athearn Genesis, but you never know.
You never know. Yeah. I think it's a little bit of a concern because people generally don't want to pay more than $50-$55 for a high-end piece of rolling stock. So
right.
So
well, I'm sorry to cut you off there, but I think we've been at this for an hour and a half, and I think we're going to call it good. I know that you sort of got to get going to your things.
Right.
I appreciate everyone joining us. We will be back on Tuesday to continue. We'll take more -9 questions later in the show if you wish, but we will talk about some more in the August packet and go from there. So thanks everyone for joining us on this Friday evening, later than usual. Let us know what you think of the time. Do you like this time slot better? More people can tune in and watch, or what do you think? Let us know.
Yeah.
But, we are going to move back to Tuesday, at least next week, and go from there. So thanks everyone for watching. Have a great evening. Have a great weekend. Wash your hands. Stay safe. Keep modeling, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Thanks, guys. We will talk to you later.
All right. See ya.